Yo, Trinity, so we're about to interview the Unstoppable Surfer right now, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Oh my God. Yo, guys, welcome to Bali. We are about to go on like some Ellen DeGeneres type of Joe Rogan type style. More on that later on. I have this really interesting guy. He's over here. Actually, where is he? Yo, Brian. His 11-year-old daughter, because of his like mindset and his beard, has built a 6-figure business. Isn't that insane? Oh, my bad. Boom. Yo, you want to do intro? Just... Awesome, guys. So we're here with Brian from the Unstoppable Surfer of the Unstoppable family. Crazy thing, before we get in, you're going to find out how his daughter built a 6-figure business at age 11. More on that later. But let's actually kind of like pre-frame what everything happened before this. We're kind of like disappointed because of the fact that this was the second day from the first intro.
It could have been the third, my man.
It would have been the third.
It just brings you over and it brings you joy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was like the craziest thing is we wanted Trinity to kind of like scare you guys and like pop up, but then both cameras ended up breaking, each one. So we got like a new setup and I have to use like my iPhone as a microphone. But other than that, you know, I'm super excited to bring to you guys probably one of the most awesomest guys that I've ever met in Bali. Now, really quick, I want everyone to kind of like, you know, kind of like your beginning stories. Because like I said, man, when they hear that your 11-year-old daughter built a 6-figure business, people are going to wonder why, and it's because of the fact that it's how you parented her, you know? So let's kind of like bring back the story of maybe even before she was born. What were you currently doing?
You don't want to go like way before. Oh, well, dude, that's kind of.
We can tell them whatever, you know?
We're not going to do that. But all right, so let's rewind back to what 2007, 2008. We were both living in. I'm 44, just to give you a little the wizard beard. I'm
also a wizard.
Yeah. So my wife and I, we've been together for 20 years. We're in the corporate world. I was robotics engineer, believe it or not, for like 10 years in Silicon Valley, San Diego, all that. My wife, she wanted to have a family. She said she was never going to put our kids through daycare. And this is Rhonda. She's like, okay, she got started in this online world 13 years ago. I thought she was crazy. Then I saw her she had a $37,000 a month, and I went, bam. This is also when the real estate market was rocking and rolling, right? You know, the real estate bubble burst? We burst with the bubble. We basically went from $1 million to I was having overdraft fees on trying to buy a $5 burrito. What would any responsible family do with a 6-week-old child? Decided to go travel the world, and this is actually how it shook down. We wanted to. It was when you lose everything, you're like. And my father. I'm just giving you a rewind a little bit more. My father died of AIDS 27 years ago, and he knew he had an expiration date, right? And he lived the bucket list. If you can think about the Bucket List movie, which is an unbelievable movie, he lived it before the movie came out. He took us kids traveling all the world. So it was seeded in me to like, I want to go see the world before I die, because you never know what it is. And fast forward, my daughter's a year, 2008, we decided to, because of the 4-hour work week, you know, having the mini retirement, we're like, let's go on a 2-year trip around the world. Even though we lost everything, we were already in the online world, we were making money, and we were like, let's give it 2 years. And what's the worst case scenario? I don't know, it doesn't work, and you freaking go back and get your jobs. So now it's 10 years later. I'm in Bali, been actually out here for 3.5 years. My daughter's fashion studio, if you can, I guess you're just... We can turn around. Just turn around. If you see that studio over there, that's her fashion studio. She's generated 6 figures now, not only with her clothes, but speaking engagements. She's getting flown around the world to go speak, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's insane. Especially when I like first met you guys, I'm like, man, this family is one of the most like family goals ever. Like, you know, if like a mom or dad or like a kid ever saw your guys' family, I think it's probably one of the families to like strive to become like, because you guys have so much fun. You guys are also building business that's successful. You know, your daughter's having a good time. But what I want to know is, what what was kind of like your worst day in entrepreneurship? Because like I said, when I first met you, everyone was like having a good time, you know, like you had cheeses and wines, and I was like, man, like these guys look like they have everything. But like what I want the viewers to kind of know, because it's not always been the case, you know, your beard hasn't been this Gandalf-y forever.
No.
Take me back to your worst day of entrepreneurship, man.
Well, as I told you, we lost
Yeah.
everything, right? Back in 2007, 2008. Well, I would say the worst was when we lost it again. And that's when we were in the affiliate world. We were doing network marketing, and we're like, you know what? You just can't do it anymore. Just can't. And this was back 2011, like about 7 years ago. And we started what we called our Freedompreneur movement. We're having an academy to where we can teach people how to brand themselves and do it right, to like really build a brand. And when we were kicking it off, we were trusting some bad people. When we say trust, we're actually pretty loose. And I then took out my last life insurances, policies, cashed everything in to freaking get the video, get the product, everything done before we sold it. Don't ever do that. Always sell first. Never freaking create the product. Jeez, I don't know how many times I've freaking done that. So never create the product first, sell it. And we were ready to sell it, and they blackmailed us and said we're ripping all the IP out, and it was a crazy thing. That was probably the worst. We lost way more money the first time around, way more. But when you lose it the second time, and you basically cashed all chips in, and then you have nothing. When I'm saying nothing, it was like we were selling it, and that was our launch.
Well, what was going on, right? Because I mean, you had a daughter, right? And she was just like recently born.
She was 5. You want to hear the trippy story behind this? She was 5 years old at that point. We were living in Lake Tahoe, and if you watch any of our videos, just 2 days ago, my wife and my daughter, they're in Aspen at the X Games. We lived next door to Jamie Anderson. Back then, she was not a gold medalist Olympic, but since then, she won the gold medal in the last 2 Olympics snowboarding. My daughter actually styled her for the gala dress and brought it to her. She brought her cupcakes 6 years ago. Now she brought her own holiday designs, and it was crazy. I forgot the question you actually asked.
No. It was just like like, how did that feel, man? I mean, you had a daughter. She was 5 years old, and you know, she wasn't like the powerhouse business like woman, 11-year-old that she is right now. She was just, you know, like, and then you guys, your business just kind of like collapsed.
It was collapsed. We had to borrow money from a friend, and it was like, it was actually as the low as we felt as low. I remember it was actually when Hanalei was out of school for a week, and Rhonda was just like, she was a mess. And I actually had to reach out to like some people and like, man, we need some help.
What was the biggest thing that was like allowing you to keep on going with this?
Well, there's no other way out. We're sunk into it, man. At this point, there's not going to go back. It's like we went too far. I feel like we're cockroaches. You can't get rid of us. Like, you can beat us down, but we're gonna just keep on going.
Well, like, one of the biggest things, and why I want to really like stress how awesome he is. Like I know he looks like a wizard, and that in itselff is awesome, and that he surfs every day.
Like, can you do the editing, like, and put like a wizard?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
But the reason why I want you guys to understand how awesome he is because of the fact that when he was at his lowest of lows, I mean, you were still very giving. You were still very caring for everyone else. Usually when people lose everything, that's when they go in scarcity mode and they try to take from people. But like, kind of talk about the story that you mentioned about Jabril. Jabril is one of like our friends. He owns like a really successful agency, as well as the founder of Passport Heavy. But bring it back to the day where, like, the story when you had, I think you had like $150 left, and then you had to pay for his cab or something.
And he was just here 2 hours ago, and he's in Bali. When we started our business together 9 years ago, I was living here in Bali. We're 1 year into our travels. And Jabril's like, hey, I'm gonna turn on the YouTube ads. I'm like, And I was wondering why he never turned on the YouTube ads. I came back to the USA. I'm like, turn on the switch. He goes, I need a credit card that works. And I had $150 to my name. He flew out to Las Vegas. I paid for his cab. That was $50 left to get them there. And my wife's like, dude, we only have $150. I'm like, well, if we're going to be business partners, let's freaking start it right now. That's where it started, man. It was crazy.
And then from there, how did you get from the lowest of lows to the point where you guys are now, you know, traveling around the world, having crazy speaking engagements, like helping other speakers like myself? That he's actually helping me getting speaking engagements. So if you're a speaker, like definitely, like link in description, definitely follow him. But like, how did you get to this point where, you know, you're surfing every day, you're living in a very beautiful villa, you have like some of the most amazing friends? Where was that switch? Was it a mindset shift, or did you meet a mentor, or did you meet someone you could model? What happened?
You know, Jabril, that was before we actually lost everything for the second time.
Yeah.
So at that point we were low, but we hadn't lost everything. We were just freaking low. And then it was like, we're just going to grind it. And you know other people are doing, we're just going to freaking grind. And that's what we did, man.
What like kind of like walk through a normal day in the life of Brian Swan grinding? What was that like back in the day?
So back in the day, now check this out. So I owned about like 6 properties, $1 million properties, and basically just had to give it all back. We had, bankruptcy. There was one property, this is hilarious, there's one property that was still in Hawaii that had not foreclosed yet. And it was just sitting there. I didn't pay for it for a year and a half. And we're like, and this is when we're freaking at our bottom of the barrel, and I went, is that property still not foreclosed? I'm like, we could go live there. And Jabril, Rhonda, this is funny, like Jabril, Rhonda, and my daughter, who's like 2 years old, we went and lived in our like house that was going to foreclose for like 3 months, and we just sat there and worked and created ads, and I was able to freaking put a video on Tim Ferriss's Facebook site, and that freaking, it worked. It was crazy, and we just grinded it, and then you got picked up momentum, picked up speed, and it just, then you got like momentum, and then shit started coming through.
Yeah, man. I think people don't understand the power of actually staying in business long enough. I mean, people come in online and they like quit within their first month. You know, you've been at this at what, like 13 years? 13 years, man. And that's what people need to see. You know, it's not just what you see up front. It's like all those years of failure, of heartache, of giving your last $50 to, you know, your friend because he took a really expensive cab ride, right? But just understanding that, you know, as long as you have that motivation to succeed, you'll actually get there in time. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, 5 years.
You know, and it's how bad you want it, right?
Yeah.
How long are you willing to, you know, if you never quit, you'll never fail, right?
So what was one of like take me back to the time. So you're at your lowest of lows, but then, you know, the crazy thing about entrepreneurship is sometimes money can come in faster than expected. Taking back to those days where like maybe you had a really big paycheck that was unexpected. What was that like?
Dude, when we had like a $50,000 a month from having nothing, it was like, this is the rule. When you're making money, don't let the pedal off the gas.
Yeah.
Never do that. Yeah, so we went up, we went down. You know, we've had 6-figure months and stuff. And then we've had lows, you know, and we've taken big hits too on unexpected shit. It's just, it's kind of life, you know.
What would you say the biggest difference from you going from nothing to like 50 grand in a single month was?
The biggest is, I don't know, you see an angle. Like, for instance, that was in an affiliate marketing, and there was a contest. And like, man, if we really put all our effort in this, we could do that. It was like 50, 60K or something.
So now, like, the other interesting thing that I love about you guys and your family is, like I said, you have this powerhouse of a daughter. I mean, if you've seen her speak, like, she's 11 years old, but she's not 11 in here. Sometimes I feel like
you're gonna do a clip like going to some of her
like
stage.
speaking engagements.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So now it's already happening.
It's happening.
It's already happening. You're seeing it.
Yeah, you saw it. It was pretty.
You saw it. You see it? Crazy.
Technology.
Technology.
How did that happen? Like that, because you know, my 11-year-old cousin, like, not to like hate on my 11-year-old cousin, but you know, when your daughter speaks, it's like I want to sit down and listen and take notes. How did that happen?
All right. So everything, you know, there's always a overnight success.
Yeah.
And there's none. Hanalei, my daughter, ever since she was born, she's been going to events. We've been going to speaking and attending events ever since she was born. So we've been to like probably 80, 90 events. And then we started hosting our events like about 10 years ago. And like maybe since she was 4 years old, hey, do you want to say something? and we just let her speak. And then when she was 4 years old and 5 years old, we just got her comfortable in front of a camera. And we'd ride her bicycles, and we'd do this wisdom of the day with Hanalei, and we still do that 7 years later. And she just shares, and she gets comfortable speaking, and comfortable, and it's like, it's not forcing. You never force. You find out, like, hey, do you want to share this? And she would share. And then where it happened, the transition of how did she become a fashion designer? We were never, I'm not artistic, my wife isn't, we have no idea. We always just thought since like the age of 4 she was sketching like doll stick figures, clothes, like, I don't know, just I didn't know she was fashion designing. And it was when she was 8 years old, the electricity went out in her place in Bali. It was hot as snot. We're like, let's go find a place to stay for the night. And we ran into this lady was having dinner, and it was late night. Hanalei fell asleep, and we asked her what she did, and she said, I'm a fashion designer in New York. And my daughter, out of just, she woke up and said, I'm a fashion designer. And Rhonda and I look at each other. My wife, we're like, what is she talking about? And the girl goes, if you're a fashion designer, you probably have your sketchbook with. She goes, yes, I do. And I'm like, what the? And she comes up with her sketchbook, and she starts showing her the designs. And like, I'm drinking wine with my wife, and we're just like, what is going on? And the girl just keeps on going through, and she goes, where did she learn this? Who's a fashion designer? And we thought she was joking. And she goes, these designs are amazing. So I took it with a grain of salt. We're going to connect later. This is probably about 3 weeks later. Then we had a party, get together, and there's a fashion designer there. And I said, hey, can you let me know what you think of these designs? And she's like, these are good. Are these yours?
No. And
that's kind of where it happened. And it just kind of, so then we give her the platform. The thing with us, as parents, we didn't make ourselves unstoppable family for no reason. Now it's kind of a curse too, that you have to keep on going. But we give my daughter the platform, and she keeps on designing, and we're like, do you want to make one of these come to life? And then we had a pattern maker, and they brought it to life, and then she started doing more, and it just kind of escalated from there.
It's so beautiful. It's like, because most people tell their daughter or son what they want to be when they grew up. But what did you do differently in your relationship with your daughter?
We never asked her that. We actually have a video. What's crazy, we have a video that you can see. I'll put it in the link. But we asked her at 7 years old, what did she want to be? We said, what do you want to be now? We might have said grow up, but that's where he's like, what do you want to be now? Because kids don't have to wait. Like, we're in a whole different world as going to school and going to university and then getting a job. Man, this is the way I believe in. There's probably a lot of people that think you're crazy. Kids should be building their brands at 7 years old, 8 years old. They should at least be sharing their voice, you know? Because if they don't, if parents are like, I don't want you on social media, all this. It's a different world, people. It's like, now you better be on it, you know? Because this is where the game is. This is where, like, the life is.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the beauty of it is because the fact that you're so open, you know, you let her come to the realization that she wants it. You know, it's kind of like when my dad forced me to take drumming lessons. I hated drumming lessons. But when I came into the guitar by myself and it was my own decision, I love learning guitar. Exactly. I would play for hours. You know, your daughter, she literally will just like draw and draw and draw. It's
she draws for 8 hours a day.
And I think that's a problem. You know, like another parent will see what you're doing and they'll like force their daughter or son to like do it. But then there's no passion. No passion, like there's no long-term profit.
Now, you know, she's mentored, if you don't know, who Dr. John Demartini.
Yeah.
Rhonda or Hanalei spoke with him on stage in Las Vegas last year, and he's one of his biggest things, what he actually spoke on that day was your values factor and what do you do throughout the day. Those are your biggest values. And she draws like 8 hours a day. And he was just fascinated. He goes, 8 hours. Like, just continue, do that. And we give her the platform, you know? It's like, we don't like, you have to learn this, you have to learn calculus and blah, blah. If you can Google it and you know, you don't have to learn it.
What would you say your biggest challenge is right now then? Because like with like a daughter that's brand is like blowing up now. And you should definitely check it out. Like links in the description. You know, that's a business that you've never been in. So like, what are your biggest challenges now?
It's learning fashion, man. we
obviously, look, you know what you're doing.
Well, obviously, this is my T-shirt from one of our events, but I got some. I should be wearing Swan designs, but I'm not. I should be. What am I thinking?
Well, wait, we're gonna do more podcasts and stuff like that.
We'll do it again. But the biggest thing is now we're learning a whole different industry. You know, fashion, sourcing materials, health conscious. You know, when you eco-friendly, if you're doing that, and we're in a third world country, you know, like we're in Indonesia, right? I don't know if it's all the way third world, but you know, we're not in the USA. So and now we're learning how to source material, how to work with the workers, the pattern makers, you know, paying their salaries, doing a whole bunch of and then being able to quality control a world we had no idea about at all.
Man, that's insane, dude. And it's just like happened within a span of a couple of years, which I think is exciting.
She sold her first thing of clothing a year ago, like this week.
So with that being said, like for an 11-year-old like girl that has that potential.
So she sold it when she was 10.
I wonder what do you think her biggest challenges are right now? Because like it's one thing to view it as parents, but it's like, man, an 11-year-old girl. Like I can only imagine what it'd be like for my brain to be in an 11-year-old boy's like body and to try to have a conversation with other 11-year-olds. Like she's so smart, but like what are her biggest challenges right now?
Well, she dropped out of school a year and a half ago, so she doesn't.
Yeah.
It was just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talked to her all about it, and that's the thing with our family. You know, speaking on stage in front of like 500 people, and it's going to go more and more. It's like we always ask. We always. It's like a self check. We're not pushing her. We're allowing her to go there. We give her the platform, but we got your back, and like what are your fears, and talk through it, and like, do you want to do this? Is this fun? Because people are like, well, now you got a fashion studio, you got this. What if she doesn't want to do it anymore? Well, it's a good learning lesson. So we're constantly getting the feedback from her. We're always, and if it's not fun, change direction.
Yeah.
If she doesn't want to do it tomorrow, so what? I don't care. It's
so if you were a parent right now watching this, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs that watch it. There's also some that have kids that they want their kids to be like the future Hanalei. What would be like a simple 3 to 5 steps you would give them, or tips to make sure that their child gets to tap into their greatness and their ultimate potential, kind of like what you've done with Hanalei?
Yeah. Well, if you don't have kids, here's one thing that you can start before you have kids, or if they're very young. Stop using the words no, don't, and not. And I learned that from an event before Hanalei was born, because it just like, don't do that. Stop that. You know, it's just subconsciously, it's easy to say, but you're just doing negative reinforcing. And she's never heard that. We always like, you're high up there. There's consequences, not like, don't get up there, you know, get down. And that was huge. Try it. Just even try it yourselves. Like you tried tonight.
It's hard.
To try to because you subconsciously you're going to say that. That's number one. Here's another thing that I think was really huge, especially over the last 3.5 years, is going to school, right? You always hear of like, because I think a lot of people are into personal development and they read books and stuff. You probably listen to podcasts. You're listening to this. You're getting some nuggets. When we were driving to school on a motorbike to Bali 3.5 years ago, I was listening to my podcasts and audiobooks, and I went, why is my daughter sitting on the back just going for a half hour? So I'm like, do you want to listen? So I put the headset in with her, and we started listening to audiobooks. And we're listening to audiobooks that I wasn't forcing her. I'm like, do you want to listen to it? I made it fun. Like the story ones that Celestine Prophecy, The Richest Man in Babylon, the Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Books like that Wayne Dyer, his last one, there's a lot of ones that tell stories but have incredible principles, and then they can get involved, and then they're learning this stuff. It's such a key thing. So that's a good one from, I would say, anywhere between, you don't force them. Like when you ride, let's say you're in a car, because I'd imagine not a lot of people riding motorbikes to school with their kids. But let's say you're in a car, just have it playing. You don't have to tell them, it doesn't matter. In the house, Just let it play. You don't have to tell them to listen. Come and listen to this podcast. Because if you tell them to listen to it, they're not going to want to do it. They're not going to want to do it. So that was number 2.
No, that's it. Like, I really like what you said on both points, because even the first one, like, no one understands when you're a kid and your parents are saying, no. Their voice becomes your own internal dialogue.
Absolutely.
And when they get older, they think and accept that internal dialogue is their own, when those limiting beliefs were given to them from people that were no smarter than them, or no, like, those aren't their negative beliefs. So I really liked what you said.
I want to throw one more in.
Okay, one more.
Because you said 3.
Okay, 3.
All right. This was the biggest one that I instilled in Hanalei from when she was able to speak, and we were saying it all. Happiness is a choice. And I didn't like, I remember hearing it from like Deepak Chopra, and he says, happiness is a choice, in his voice. Right? I'm trying to do my best Deepak Chopra. And I'm like, what do you mean it is? No, well, there's going to be certain cards. Well, no, if I said, you're an idiot, one hand you could go, you're such an asshole, right? And you could be so mad at me. Another, you could just laugh and go, that's pretty funny. Yet again, it's a choice. And she always realized, and what we've instilled is that you're going to get curveballs, kicked in the balls, everything, boom, boom, boom. It's choice on how you actually take it. That's a big thing. Happiness is a choice.
Here's an interesting question.
Yeah, go for it.
Today was your last day, and you could write a note to your daughter, like a note, and this is the note that she's going to remember you for, what would you want it to say on that note or letter?
Now that's something I kind of have to... So the last day, I always ask for the perfect day, and I never ask for the last day. I think it would be, and how long do I get to write the note for?
As long as you can.
As long as I can. I guess I got a day, so I'm going to be writing the whole thing. I guess it's probably the principles that I've learned and talked to her about, to just keep on going after your dreams. That's cliche, but just keep on going. Don't let anybody get in your way. I mean, it's like, be who you are. I wish I could go much deeper. It's kind of hard to think about.
Yeah, it was just a question I thought of. I was like, man, this is gonna be a crazy question. Maybe I should just ask it. I'm just ask it. So here I am asking it, because it's like interesting, right? It's like when we're going through like the life and business and everything's moving so fast. Sometimes it's like also good to look back and realize, like, holy crap, like, I have an 11-year-old daughter that's doing all this, and it's so amazing. Holy, like, what I'm saying? Like, it blows my mind to like even think about it, right? So if there's like any like last message, or like the person that you'd want her to become or something like that, right?
I think she's just becoming who she is. She's unique, man.
She is really unique.
And I'm not just saying that because she's my daughter.
No,
right?
she's seriously freaking unique. Like, I swear, when I see her, I'm just like sitting. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old, and then when we're done sitting, we'll stand up, and then she's still like down here. I was like, whoa, she's actually really short. And then I'm like, wait, because she's 11.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's crazy. It's I don't even know what your question was again. I'm like with
Well, it just goes back to how short life is.
Short life is. Yeah. Go do it now. It's crazy. She's we're on. She's going to Fashion Week in London and Paris. She's getting to speak there, and it's crazy. It's wild. As long as you have fun, don't push them. Just let it roll.
What would you say your biggest regret is in life to this day? Other than, of course, becoming friends with me a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I get that could be a regret in the future here. We haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story of how we became friends. Maybe you should check out part 2 of this.
It's hard to have any regrets. Because I always think of life as an experience. I could say losing everything, but if I didn't lose everything, we wouldn't be traveling, wouldn't be doing. So everything, the worst moments, usually tend to come up to be your biggest assets. So
what are you then the most excited about? And we could maybe end it on that note.
Most excited about, man, it's the people that it's crazy, the people that we're meeting and how we're kind of elevating to where it's a different world now, and we're with a higher conscious of we got to spend a week in Thailand with some pretty crazy entrepreneurs, right? And it's pretty exciting to be able to just like keep on raising that, realizing that you can't do everything. Because like entrepreneurs, a lot of times try to do everything. And then when you do that, you just kind of stay stuck. And we left each other up, kind of like we're doing right now, right? And you get to go much further.
Yeah. Now, in terms of Bali, because like we have an epic vision. If you've seen the videos with Trinity and I, we want to create like the most badass community in Bali, bringing together the top entrepreneurs to get you guys, the best knowledge from all aspects of life. I mean, he literally raised an 11-year-old daughter, him and his wife, to build a 6-figure business by the age of 11, right? That's just like one aspect
and
of
it'll
things.
definitely, there's a thing called the 2 Comma Club Award, and that's one of our goals. If you look, I'm going to get a 2 Comma Club Award for this year. That's making 7 figures through a funnel. And it's going to happen.
It's insane, man. But it's like, we're creating something epic here in Bali, and what are your thoughts? Because you're also like a part of this movement where we're all kind of like coming together. I mean, it's like Trinity was here. She's not here today because like the camera broke and like the video of the intro was in the beginning. But what's it like from your perspective to see all of us just like running around and like, we're connecting each other with this person and that person, and it's just such an epic thing.
Well, I think it's cool because I'm like the old dude, right? And we were like kind of like the pioneers in the online world. And then what happened over the years, we just kept on not really going higher, kind of just what's comfortable and what we've always known. And then you young whippersnappers are freaking...
Whippersnappers?
Yeah, whippersnappers, right? Whippersnappers. Are going up, and you always have to learn. So like, you're how old? You're
25.
25. I'm 44, man. Like, man.
You party like you're 24, though.
Yeah. You don't, the mind doesn't get old.
Yeah.
The body does.
I actually have a hard time keeping up with him in Thailand. Well, that's a whole nother video or podcast if we decide to tell those stories.
We go there, full moon party, but hey, it was cool.
I just like, he comes back at 7 a.m. There's a giant octopus like painted tattoo on his chest. Gavin's like the same thing.
Hey, I spoke that day.
Yeah.
First thing.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. Maybe you should just have more of those nights before speaking.
I think so.
Awesome. So one last piece of advice you'd like to let them know before we see them on, maybe we did a podcast together. You can check it out.
Well, check out Unstoppable Family, like the podcast. You get to hear our podcast, and I think that's the easiest way.
Just stay tuned with this, because like I said, since we're like neighbors, we're literally gonna have a bunch of cool like my vision is if Joe Rogan and Ellen DeGeneres had like a baby, their shows, it would kind of be like what we want to create here. So we want to do it where you're there, I'm there. We'll have like Trinity speaking, or like other people that we've been talking about, and we'll just talk about really interesting concepts. I think
because we all have unique backgrounds. I mean, the fact that we're on Bali, the fact that we're here. You have a story upon itself. Yeah. You just don't get here and not have some uniqueness. Not everybody's, a great person, but there's something a little crazy about all of us.
Yeah, one of them is you'll see Gavin. You've seen Gavin. Gavin actually was the reason that we both met, because he came.
Now we gotta cut to. If we're gonna do some really good edit, we can have like Gavin. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just like. But like if you see Gavin, you'll also see him like growing his little wizard beard.
He's attempting to grow this.
Yeah, but it's like super awesome. With that being said, like I said, follow the Unstoppable Family podcast
or Hanalei Swan.
And Hanalei Swan.
She's on there too.
Well, we'll just have her on here. Like, I'm talking about. They're coming back here. She's literally in the X Games right now, building dresses for like the gold medalists, and going through Fashion Week. And you guys are literally everywhere. So super grateful to have you guys on. Thank you so much for adding value to the tribe. And if you guys have any questions on what you would want to ask a parent that raised a 6-figure entrepreneur before she was like even legally able. Before she was even in her teens, right? Comment it below, and we'll maybe do another video or podcast.
And you know what I think they should comment is like win a trip to Bali, because Hanalei's actually having a contest to win a trip to Bali for free for 2 people.
So maybe they could comment that below, and then you can comment on the YouTube and just like
we could do that.
They could comment win a trip to Bali, and then follow you on Instagram, and then comment on the latest picture.
And then tag
wizard beard,
and then tag 28 friends, and then you can qualify.
And then you can qualify. Yeah, do that. Directions in the description.
All right, just 25 minutes.
And with that being said, just say outro. Wait, what?
I don't know.
Outro.
Outro?
Yeah.
What's outro?
And then there's gonna be the cool music in the
Oh.
background. And then outro.